Here's an interesting question. Imagine that you are stuck and stranded on a desert island with nothing except an NTUC plastic bag which somehow you kept from your recent grocery adventure. And around you see nothing but sand and sea, but there is a tree growing on the middle of the desert island. And you are very thirsty. So how are you going to get water with just a plastic bag and a tree? Think about it. It might save your life one day. Pause and think of the most creative thing you've got. Now maybe you were a genius and you thought of something like this. Why not wrap a plastic bag around a bunch of leaves? I thought I might have seen this on some survival shows before or something. And indeed, this method, after a while, produces water. Because at the bottom of each bag, you would see that water. Now what or where does this water come from? Well, you tell me it comes from the leaves, of course. Now, how did the water come out of the leaves? Where did the water come out from? You would tell me, I remember, it comes out from the stomata, right? The bottom of the leaf, the water will come out from the bottom of the leaf. And what causes the water to come out of the bottom of the leaf? Well, that's the process we're going to be looking at. And it's related to the name of this method of getting water. This is actually called a transpiration bag, because it uses transpiration, which happens in plants, to get water. Alright, so what is transpiration? And what is transpiration pool, which we're going to be looking at after looking at transpiration? How does it work? How does it help plants to move water upward? And these are the textbook pages that you can look at. So let's begin by defining what transpiration is. So what is transpiration? Well, transpiration is the loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant. Over here, aerial parts refers to the parts of the plant which are above the soil, right? For example, the stem and the leaves. So the plant loses water vapor through its aerial parts. Now, notice also that in the definition of transpiration, I say that it is the loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant. It is not just the loss of water from the aerial parts of the plant. This word vapor is very important. Water vapor is the gaseous form of water, right? The gas form of water. And it's important to say that transpiration is the loss of water vapor, that means water in its gaseous form, from the plant. So the plant loses water in the form of water vapor. It doesn't lose water in the form of a liquid water, right? That's important to bear in mind. Okay, so most of the transpiration occurs through the stomata of the leaves, right? We learned about stomata in our last chapter. Stomata are found on the lower surface of the leaf. And it is through the stomata that water vapor is lost through the leaf. Water vapor actually diffuses out of the leaf through the stomata. And that is what causes transpiration. Alright, we're going to be using this diagram to describe and to explain transpiration further. So this diagram here shows the cross-section of a leaf. And it should look familiar to you from the last chapter. But here's my spongy mesophyll cells. Here is my intercellular spaces, right, between the spongy mesophyll cells. The bottom layer of cells here, hopefully you remember, this is called the lower epidermis, right, and it has guard cells. And of course, between the guard cells, we have this opening. This is the stomata. Now the blue arrows here represent the movement of water. So where is transpiration taking place? Well, it takes place here, at the stomata. You see, at the stomata, what's happening is that there's the diffusion of water vapor from inside the leaf to outside the leaf, and this diffusion is called transpiration. So why does this diffusion occur? Well, that's because the concentration of water vapor is usually much higher inside the leaf compared to outside the leaf. So water vapor will move from a region of higher concentration out of the stomata to a region of lower concentration outside the leaf. Right, so this diffusion of water vapor out of the leaf, this loss of water vapor from the leaf is known as transpiration. Okay? But our story doesn't end with transpiration. You see, transpiration leads to other things happening deeper inside the leaf. As a result of transpiration, the next thing that occurs here, at the surface of the spongy mesophyll cells. Now, at the surface of the spongy mesophyll cells, there is a thin film of moisture. And what happens is that now, because water vapor has moved out of the leaf by transpiration, that water vapor that has moved out needs to be replaced. So it is replaced through evaporation. You see, water from the thin film of moisture on this mesophyll cells will evaporate. Will evaporate to form water vapor, which comes into this intercellular space again. Right, and then that water vapor will then move out again by transpiration, and then more water will evaporate from the spongy mesophyll cells, and then will move out again by transpiration, and the cycle continues. Alright, so that's what happens in the leaf. So if we put that into words, we saw that water vapor diffuses from the air spaces inside the leaf, where there's higher concentration of water vapor, to outside the leaves, through the stomata. So this process is called transpiration. So if you're sharp enough, you will realize that transpiration is actually a type of diffusion. It's the diffusion of water vapor. Now, after transpiration takes place, we also saw that evaporation takes place. Water evaporates from the thin film of moisture on the surface of the mesophyll cells, right, in order to replace the water vapor that has moved out of the leaf. Alright, so let's continue our story, and hopefully by the end of this story, you will realize what transpiration pool is. Okay, so remember our story started here with transpiration. Transpiration is the diffusion of water vapor out of the leaf. Right, and then what happened next was evaporation. Right, water evaporates from the thin film of moisture which surrounds the mesophyll cells. Now, next question is, what happens to the water potential of this mesophyll cell as a result of evaporation? Now, because this mesophyll cell has lost water due to evaporation from its surface, its water potential will actually decrease. Right, so the evaporation of water from the thin film of moisture on the surface of the mesophyll cells will lower the water potential of the mesophyll cell. So now, let's think about the water potential of the cell that is deeper inside the leaf, over here and also over here. How does the water potential of these cells compare to the water potential of this cell? Well, clearly, the water potential of the cells deeper inside the leaf will be higher, right, than the water potential of the mesophyll cell which has experienced evaporation of water from its surface. So as a result, water will move by osmosis. It will move from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential. So water is being pulled out from the cells that are deeper inside the leaf. Okay, as shown here, water is absorbed by osmosis from cells deeper inside the leaf. Now the cells deeper inside the leaf have also lost water, right? Because water is moving out this way. So these cells which are deeper inside the leaf will in turn absorb water from the xylem vessels. Right, so water will move out from the xylem vessels to replace the water that has moved from these cells out this way. So what you have seen is this, okay? We began with transpiration, right? Water vapor moved out of the leaf, and then there was evaporation. Then the water potential of this mesophyll cell decreased, and as a result, water is actually being pulled out, right? First from the cells deeper in the leaf, and then ultimately from the xylem vessels. So water is being pulled out by transpiration, and that's why this is called transpiration pull. So let's put what we've seen into words. Well, we began with transpiration. Right? We saw water vapor move out of the leaf through transpiration, which is a type of diffusion. And then we saw evaporation. Right? Water evaporates from the thin film of moisture in the mesophyll cells, and we saw that this lowers the water potential of the mesophyll cell. So as a result, there was osmosis. Right? Water moves by osmosis from cells deeper inside the leaf where there is higher water potential, and then ultimately move out also from the xylem. So when water is being removed from the xylem, or when water moves out from the xylem, this actually produces a suction force, right, that pulls water up the rest of the xylem vessel. And it's this suction force that we call transpiration pull. So transpiration pull is the suction force or pulling force that is due to transpiration. And this suction force pulls water and also any dissolved mineral salts up the xylem vessels. So here's a very simple diagram, and you see here a leaf, right? And here's the stomata of the leaf and opening, and these Mickey Mouse things, they represent water molecules. Okay, so what you see here is water molecules leaving the leaf. Right, this is transpiration. Water vapor is diffusing out of the leaf. And then there was evaporation, which you can't really see on this simple diagram. But what you see here is water being removed from the xylem. Okay, so this opening here, this is the xylem in the leaf. So remember, water was removed from the xylem. It moves out by osmosis. Now, as water is removed from the xylem, it's a bit like a straw, right? I'm sucking water out from this end of the xylem. So it causes water to move up or to be sucked up the rest of the xylem. It's a suction force. So as water is removed from the xylem here, there's a suction force which sucks and pulls water and any mineral salts up the xylem vessels. And this suction force is actually passed on all the way down even to the roots. Alright, so this is transpiration pull, a suction force due to transpiration. Now this stream of water that is being pulled up the xylem vessel is known as the transpiration stream. Alright, so we can say that transpiration pull is a suction force which pulls up the entire transpiration stream through the xylem. Now, one thing that might happen sometimes with transpiration pull is that if the suction force is too strong, on this end, it might actually cause the transpiration stream to break. Right? This stream of water might break and it might introduce an air bubble in the xylem vessel. Now, if there are air bubbles in the xylem vessel, it's very bad for the plant because the transpiration pull wouldn't be able to happen through the xylem anymore. And that is why it's important for there to be strong forces of attraction between the water molecules. Right? And that strong force of attraction is called cohesion. Right? The attractive force between water molecules, called cohesion, prevents this stream of water or the transpiration stream from breaking, and that allows transpiration pull to work. Alright, so hopefully you understand transpiration pull. That's really the basic thing. You need to know how to describe it, and then we'll see you more in class if you have any questions.